Hi, this is attorney Robert Weinstein. I am back again on YouTube after a while being away, and I'm really excited to be talking to Chris Buell. He is an expert in non-emergency medical transportation, and we're going to find out some ways where you can get started and get started the right way by having the information that you need so that you can plan on your success. Let me just start out with saying thanks, Chris, for being here. I appreciate it very much and look forward to speaking with you. And how about we start out with just something about you, if you want to just grab the ball and talk about your experience with non-emergency medical transportation and what your involvement is.
Okay. Look, I appreciate the opportunity. It's a big honor to be on your show, and I can't thank you enough. I can tell you my background is that I've owned and operated two different non-emergency transportation companies, and I did it primarily with private pay. I didn't even know what a broker was until way into it. I did it the old-fashioned way by picking up the phone, going down there, meeting people, and so I have a YouTube channel, and it focuses on primarily sales. And, I make myself available in a lot of different ways. They can leave a question and I'll answer it, but I do charge. I do offer some coaching, but I do know sales. And that is pretty much my area within this market. And like I said, I've owned and operated two different companies. And then life is funny. And one of the kind of messages I wanted to get across to people in this, you got to be okay with where life takes you. And I happen to live in Costa Rica, and I have a business now where I basically do sales for other companies. So, I told you in the last video, I lost my company. I had one company and I sold it for a lot of money and I did great. The second one, I made mistakes and I own those mistakes and I lost everything. But I didn't lose everything because I gained knowledge.
Right.
And, I one day kind of advertised myself to do sales for non-emergency transportation. And it was a need that I had when I was doing it. And I realized, you're not going to find many people that know how to sell non-emergency transportation. I mean, that's just not something that comes up. But furthermore, you may not need a full-time salesperson. You may be in a market that only needs a couple of hours a week. So I've been getting customers and really I kind of see myself as having a real job, which is where I do non-emergency transportation sales for other companies, and I get weekly payments. And then I do the consulting, which is kind of my part-time. And, and it's one of these things that I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that non-emergency would allow me to live in Costa Rica, remotely.
Dive into your experience, and I guess in the businesses you have had, you've had two non-emergency medical transportation businesses, right?
One in Arizona, one in Arkansas.
Okay, and did you buy them when they were already existing? Either one of them or both, or did you start them from scratch?
The first one I bought. Okay. I bought it from two guys, and they essentially had one customer, which was Hospice of Arizona. And they had 100% of Hospice of Arizona's business. And what happened was they got in a position where they needed to hire more people. And they said to themselves, we're not going to do that. We're not going to hire more people. We're just going to sell this business. And I was the guy that bought it. And in the meantime, they brought in two other providers for this particular hospice. So I bought a business, but I bought a business thinking I was buying 100% of this hospice's business. But the truth is, I was not even buying a third, because the first call went to the vice president's son got a van. And so he was first on the list. And then there was someone else. They didn't give a damn about me. And so I had to hustle like nobody's business. So I would have been better off having not bought it, because obviously I was out the money from buying it.
A lot of blue sky there, I would imagine you paid for with the expectations. How about the number two?
In Arkansas, I bought one van. It was the same thing. I grew them. I grew them quick. We talked about in the last video that you grow quick, you got problems. And I inherited the problems, and I don't put myself out there as the guy that has all the answers. I put myself out there as the guy that's honest. And I'll let you know where I made my mistakes, and, let people learn from my mistakes. The areas that I do well, I have no problem saying that. I know how to sell. I know who to ask for. I know I can create business, but yeah, I've made mistakes.
And I've been a serial entrepreneur since I left the Navy, actually. I learned more from my mistakes, and I talk about this with clients all the time, that I've made every mistake in the book, and I think I've invented a few new ones. But that's where I really gained a lot of knowledge. How much can people benefit from your mistakes that you've already made?
I think they can benefit a lot, but I also think that you have to be okay with mistakes. I am a huge fight fan, and it's my only sport I watch. I watch fights. And this guy, Kenny Florian, would say, you win or you learn. I have no losses. I have lessons. And, that's how it is with entrepreneurship. I never lie to myself. And, there's definitely things I wish I had done better. But, at the end of the day, I'm on this side of the earth. I'm still alive. I'm still working. I'm still growing. I still have all those lessons. And, the funny thing is like you have more than you realize. I never knew that my knowledge in non-emergency transportation would allow me to live abroad. And, I have to say that, like, it's funny because I've thought about this too. Like, we sort of invite into our world what we want. There's something that takes place that's deep. And, I had said in our first interview that I had a doctor wanting to, buy this company. And I'd been living abroad off and on at that time. My heart was out of the United States. And I was sort of putting on a brave face, and I was going to go work for this doctor. I think that at some level, I willed that deal to be dead. I think that I was leaving the United States, and it took place on a level that I can't fully explain. I was ready. I was done. I needed to leave. And, again, like within one day, I got several people offering me, jobs. Boy, it's a tough thing to say because, yeah, I don't have the pot of gold that, other 50-year-old men have here in Costa Rica. I do have a lot of things going for me. Again, like I've got my little Costa Rica background, but I just moved into my new office. I got my brand new office in a great part of San Jose, and I've got a team. We just started dispatching for a company. So the name of my company is NEMT Solution Center, Non-Emergency Transportation Solution Center. And our bread and butter has been sales, doing sales for other companies. But now we're expanding, and we're expanding into dispatch. It's been tough. Being in business means you have opportunity. And again, like, you got to be okay with falling. I went roller skating the other night. At 50 years old, I was invited to go roller skating. I fell down a half a dozen times. And I was with this girl, and she was so afraid. And I said, you got to be okay with falling down. She's like, you might be okay with falling down. I'm not. So, but that's how I am. I'm okay with falling down. I'm okay with failure. I'm okay with getting back up and moving forward. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm happy. I wish I'd made better decisions. I wish I had not made mistakes, but it's tough to complain about life right now.
You're not. I really believe that if you're not making mistakes, you're not making any progress. Neither comes with the territory. It's you have to make mistakes if you're going to grow. You have to experience that pain. I know for some, you mentioned how you were just done. I articulate it as for some, and I've been there myself, where you feel like you're swimming up a river and you're watching yourself go downriver as you're trying to swim. And at a certain point, we all just say, that's it. I don't have anything left. I'm not moving forward. I'm not making progress. And so the market has a harsh way of bringing reality if things aren't working well. But you bring up another really good point. Who is, you mentioned dispatch. Who is your sweet spot for clients? Is it somebody who's just getting started in business and they want some guidance, coaching, things of that nature? Or is it somebody who is established that is looking to, maybe they don't have the resources to hire somebody, but they're at capacity. They can't, that's what I imagine is at least some. They're at capacity, but they don't want to hire somebody or they don't want to train somebody. And it's not like you can call up your local employment agency and find somebody readily able to sit down tomorrow. And I don't know if that's what you can do neither, but let me ask that. What type of services do you provide, and who is your client?
It's such a great question. And that's the thing is like, I didn't know when I started. So I had assumptions, and I assumed it would be established businesses that would predominantly hire me. And some of them have, but also some of my students, people that I've met through my own YouTube channel, they believe in me. And they said, I want to hire you. And if I can be a salesperson for a moment, like I have, if you go to my website, I have a number of packages. So I've got packages that are more expensive for the shorter amount of time, and they get cheaper for the longer amounts of time. And, but you can hire me for 1 week, $250. It's not a ton of money, but you're not committed yourself. And then I have other packages that are longer. So I've got the gold package, the silver, the platinum. I've got several packages for people to choose from. And I've frankly been shocked at how many of the smaller companies have chosen to hire my services. It actually kind of dovetails onto something that I did want to bring up in this video, which was, I take calls all the time from people that want to start, and I want to help them. A lot of my students that come to me, they're nervous. It's hard. It's hard to do sales when that's not in your background. It's hard to pick up the phone. It's hard to ask someone.
And they're new too. And they're new in the business most of the time,
right.
And so they're afraid they're going to say something the wrong way, or they don't know the lingo, or they don't know exactly how to present their best foot forward because they haven't been doing it for 10, 15 years.
I started picking up the phone and calling other non-emergency transportation business owners. And I have been going through what my students go through. I've been getting rejected. I don't have my swagger down, and I don't have the lines, and it's clunky and it's nerve. And if I ever make a video that's not an interview, or one of my more normal videos, I kind of wanted to discuss that process. Like I can empathize with those first getting into this business in a way that I couldn't. Like I was a little surprised at how nervous I was, and I do sales.
On the phone, but you're referring to it.
Yeah. So I call non-emergency companies within the United States, and I kind of use my same routine that I do if I were going to be selling non-emergency transportation. I'm getting better. But boy, it took me a little while to sort of get it all figured out. And one of the things that I always say is like, if you want to start selling non-emergency transportation in your city, go to the part of town where you don't want business. Go to the part of town where you can practice there, where you don't want to do it in the place next door. You want to be polished and professional for the place that you do want business. So go to the part of town and practice where you don't. So, I've been focusing on like the smaller markets where there is, I've been taking my own advice, and it helps just to get the nerves and the practice in the, And so I've been saving like the big major cities for when but yeah, I'm going through the same thing as the people I talk to.
What is your footprint? Are there certain states that you work in primarily, or doesn't matter? I know you're not even in United States, so physically, but is there any reason why somebody from California couldn't hire you today and somebody from New York hire you tomorrow?
There's no reason except for one. If they sign a service agreement with me, their city is a protected territory. Okay. So if I'm already doing business with someone in, LA, I cannot take another. Yeah, I've got to be. That's my one thing is when they sign the service agreement, they get a protected territory.
So you offer a certain degree of loyalty to that person, so they don't have to worry about you learning about that city on their dime and then exploiting that with another to line your pockets. That's what I just heard anyway.
Right. And it's one of these things that, like, if somebody comes to me, whether you got 1 van or 10 vans or 100 vans, whatever the case is, I want to be your partner. Whether it's doing recruiting. You had asked me earlier, what are the services I provide? Well, I can do obviously sales, but we can also do recruiting. I've even done some collections, even the jobs that nobody wants. You pay me, man. I'll pick up the phone and I'll go track your money down. So whatever that is, I'm actually about to start some home health. I've made relationships within home health that need a little help with some of their daily tasks and so forth. So, Costa Rica is an interesting place because, we can work cheaper down here, but it's still got access to a lot of English speakers. So it's one of the most popular places for call centers. And there's just a lot of English speakers. And so it's and
it's not on the other. It's not on the other side of the globe, right? So it is Central Time where I'm at. I'm, in Chicago time. What time is it there?
Same.
So right in the middle of the United States.
We do not change time zones. So yesterday you were an hour ahead.
All right. What other services do you provide? Or what advice? You mentioned you get calls a lot. What's the most common question you get with somebody who wants to go into NEMT?
I get what kind of van should I get?
Right.
And my answer is always, it's our job as entrepreneurs to fill a need that hasn't been met or that is underserviced. So, it's not possible for me to say in Costa Rica what kind of van you should get in Dallas, but you can go out and start knocking on doors before you've ever decided to open for business. You can go and find out maybe there's a need of stretchers that are being underserviced. Maybe there's, again, like maybe there's ambulatory needs that haven't been met. I'll tell you, there was a client of mine that I had in Arkansas that was, I don't really even know how to fully describe it because it was people that had mental problems to some degree. And they would be picked up by the police and have to spend like 72 hours or 3 months. I don't really know the details, but they would be monitored and then deemed safe. And this was all ambulatory. It was 100% ambulatory, and it was good paying runs because it was from Little Rock to all over Arkansas. I would have loved to just had focused on that. It was so easy to do. It was a dream run. So, it's like I said, it's our job to try and find the need that needs to be met. And that's how I would recommend, about getting a van. The other side of the coin is, you go to war with the army you got. And, what I mean by that is like, look, yeah, newer is better. It is. But I've gone into business with old vans and I made it work. And after time, I had money to buy new vans. So, yeah, newer is better, but if you can't afford that, you go with an old van.
I'll add because a lot of people are new and they're looking at entering the business. I'll just add an insurance perspective too to that. it doesn't change what you said. What you said is dead on. Sometimes you have to go with what you have. From an insurance perspective, what surprises a lot of people is vans with a wheelchair lift or vehicles with a wheelchair lift are often less expensive to insure than without. And that is very counterintuitive for a lot of people. And the reason why is because it's less likely, from the insurance carrier's point of view, that it's going to be used as a taxi. And taxis tend to be higher cost to insure because, of course, they drive more at night, where NEMT generally drives more during the day, which is a lower risk. The other thing that I see, and again, I couldn't agree with you more, you march with the troops you have. And if you already have a van, whether it has a lift or not, that might, budget constraints might dictate that. If you have flexibility, from my experience, those that have newer equipment are more likely to have success. Breakdowns are incredibly expensive because often you're not just paying for that breakdown, but you're also paying to have somebody else then go ahead and take those runs and take and to fulfill your commitments. And sometimes that's not cheap at all. And otherwise you can run into contractual problems. So,
lifts, the thing is the van can break down, but the lift gate is a whole nother unit and they can break down. And, the ideal situation is you have one van that you work and one van as your backup. And, again, that's the ideal situation, is just to have a van sitting there to bail you out. And almost without fail, there's a problem every day. There's a driver calls in sick. That's a problem. You got to send the spare van. So yeah, if you want to provide good service, you have a spare van.
I know most of my clients that are 1 or 2 driver operations, they don't do that. They don't have the financial resources, but I do know the larger ones absolutely follow that rule religiously because they break down all the time. And especially, if you have it seems like the larger the fleet you have, the more likely it is the drivers don't give it that tender loving care, and things just tend to break down quicker. Compared to if you only have like one driver and there's a very close or tight relationship, even if they are an employee. Seems to be a difference.
Problems are, it's literally not possible to get out in front of them. You just have to plan to have them. Mm-hmm. And, but part of the plan could be having a rental agency that you're aware of where you can go rent one.
What other questions are real commonly asked from people who are looking to enter into non-emergency medical transportation?
And I don't have a very direct answer in that they would ask this, but like people want to get into non-emergency transportation. They watch all the videos, but they just need to talk to someone. And sometimes it's just reassurance. Am I doing the right thing? Am I crazy? What do you think? And I deal with it. But again, like, kind of van, what's it like? What can I expect? Those are the questions. But yeah, I get a lot of those. Probably, I don't know. Like I said, at least half are before they've ever opened.
I know I get a lot of the same questions. Let me throw some of them at you so that see what your response is. And how much money does it cost to enter into this business, starting from scratch? How much budget? What budget should people allocate?
Well, that's so tough because I don't know your expenses. I can tell you an ideal situation would be that you buy a van and the van's paid for. Okay. I can tell you the ideal situation would be, you've got 6 months of money to pay for insurance, gas, everything, 6 months to give you a real chance at moving in this. I know that people do it on a lot less, so it's one of those things. I would more or less say pick up the phone, find out how much the insurance is going to be, take a look at what your expenses are, and trust your gut. Your gut's going to tell you if you have the money to do it or not. It's going to tell you, whether or not you should go in this direction. I mean, it's another thing too, like if you do the research beforehand and you have people ready to use you before you ever open your door, well, then you don't need much money. If you've already got customers lined up, you don't need as much money. So, I actually have a call this evening, and that's their question. What should my budget be? And so I sort of gave it some thought. There's a lot of answers to that. It's some people operate on, well, you need $20,000, but that's not reality. Everybody's different. Every market's different. Every place is different. Every situation is different.
I would wholeheartedly agree there. Another question I know I get asked a lot: how do I find the brokers?
I have two answers. One is I have a broker list that I give my students that, I've got two levels. And for the higher level, the monthly level, I'll give you a broker list. But number two, that sort of goes against the grain of what my channel is. I'm not a broker guy. I'm a private pay guy. I guess a more correct answer is I'm on all of the above. Whatever works, whoever pays the most. But what I don't want to see is people that, they go out there and they get these $20 runs. And in my opinion, it's criminal. It's criminal because there's some brokers that have their own fleet. Okay. And they pay their drivers $18 an hour driving brand new vans. They know what it costs to run that van. And they are taking advantage of naive people at $20 a run that have to do 4,000 runs that never get time off. Like, again, if you come to me and my channel for brokers, I'm going to tell you that's against what we do here. At my channel, I'm not going to say that that every broker is bad, and maybe some brokers pay more than others. It's just not the driving force behind my channel. The driving force behind my channel is private pay, going to hospitals, getting better paying runs, working less hard, having your vehicles extend more. So that's
and how about software and scheduling? That's something that I get asked myself a lot. What software do I need to begin? And what I know, like for accounting, I usually recommend myself. To people, I recommend like Wave Apps, which is free if they're just a one-person band, but maybe QuickBooks if they're beyond that. But what other software would you say is valuable?
I do not have a great answer on that. I am when I was in business, I did it the old-fashioned way. I did it with an Excel spreadsheet, and it was easy for me. And I knew my city because I knew everything because I grew it from one van to I'm doing MediRoutes now. MediRoutes certainly works, but again, I haven't worked with every software. I can only compare two. I can compare MediRoutes with my Excel spreadsheet, and they both have problems. They both have advantages. I mean, and there's always new ones. So, if I absolutely loved my system, if I absolutely loved MediRoutes, I would say, oh yeah, but I don't love those. They're okay.
I'm old enough where doing it the Excel way is actually the new way, but we don't have to go down that path today anyway. Any other, what advice, if you have to give, if you're limited to just one or maybe two things in advice to somebody who's about to enter or is strongly considering entering the NEMT business, what would you say to them?
My advice is to know your market. That's the thing is if you can learn your market and you can trust your gut, if I'm a big gut guy, it guides you, it tells you which direction to go in. Be open to business. We don't get extra points for taking wheelchairs. If the business comes from you being out there and you somehow find a contract with a dental company building teeth, take the teeth. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do not have the mindset that I have to do non-emergency transportation. No, you have to be successful. Maybe non-emergency transportation is the vehicle that will get you there. But when you're out looking for business, don't prejudge it. If somebody's going to pay you, take it.
Speaking of which, I watched one of your videos. You were interviewing somebody who is already successful in the business, and they discussed taking perhaps things to the lab that were time sensitive, and looking for other ways school districts might need your services. And is that something that you help owners do, is to look at different ways to generate revenue? Is that one of the things that you offer? Or what would you say on that subject? And you mentioned know the business, not to ask too many questions at once, but how does somebody get to know their market? How do they discover their market?
Well, I would say, look, it's important to listen. It is very important to go to every nursing home in your town. Mm-hmm. And, if they say, I'm exhausted from non-emergency companies coming in here, maybe that's not a good idea to go there. Right. But if you say, what is it like getting business on weekends and after hours? Oh, it's terrible. So, you can't take the first answer. You got to dig a little bit deeper. I mean, do you have coverage evenings and weekends? I'm telling you, people are lazy. They want to make one call. And if it's to the guy that says yes on weekends and at 2 a.m, that same call is going to come for the day hours as well. So, yeah, it's important to get out there and know your market. I don't want to see people buy vans that are not going to be successful. I have to believe that some markets are oversaturated. But if they're not, if service is not good, well, then there is a market. So yeah, go and listen to the prospective clients.
Thank you very much. If people want to discover more about you, maybe hire you or talk to you, how would they go about doing it? I know you have a YouTube channel that I mentioned, and I've watched, I don't know, probably maybe half a dozen of your videos. Very informative. You obviously know what you're talking about. One of the reasons why we connected actually was because we found each other on Facebook and in a non-emergency medical transportation group. But if people want to learn more about you and maybe hire you, how would they go about doing that?
I'm everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. I have a website, NEMT Solution Center. You can go there. My YouTube channel is How to Sell NEMT. And you go there. I've got a Facebook page. You can just email me, Christopher Buell at Yahoo. Contact me however you want.
And I'll put those links at the bottom there too. Make that easy. Any other last thoughts?
It's been an honor, and I really appreciate it. It's been great. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time as well. Thank you very much, Chris, and until next time.
Until next time.